Robschild, nothing I say is investment advice. Welcome to the show where we view financial markets through crystal ball gazing. JP Morgan once said, millionaires don't need astrologers, but billionaires do, and so we begin. Today is Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, and today's episode, not much going on really. Small breakout in yields, Bitcoin getting a little bit of a bounce as well. That's pretty much it. I don't foresee any really big things happening really till Friday. Potentially things can start moving, getting interesting because of the PCE data coming out. Remember, this is the Fed favorite inflation gauge. Starting today with SPX, the S&P 500. As I mentioned yesterday and the day before, it looks like we are done going straight up for now, and we're consolidating, we're going sideways. Oddly, with the S&P 500 near all-time highs, basically at all-time highs, the CNN Fear and Greed Index is still in fear mode because not all stocks are participating in this. I predicted yesterday that Bitcoin would continue falling here, and it did not. It had a bounce, but it still looks fairly bearish to me. I do still expect this to roll over and keep dropping in price. TLT, long duration treasury bonds. As you may know, I'm 50% exposed to basically this. We had a bit of a breakout today. If you consider this to be a flag, we broke over a trend line, for the medium term. It looks like we might be headed up to this grand line here, and that line represents, if we scroll out, as I've been saying in many shows before, I'm very excited about this potentially playing out the way I hope and expect it to. Head and shoulders pattern here. With this little breakout here, it would, if we have a measured move from this pole and it plays out to go above this line here, the target on this inverse head and shoulders is getting pretty close to 120. It's close. It's really, we'll call it 115 on TLT. I've also been talking about wood in many previous shows, talking about how it's interesting how it just is going sideways here, and it looks like it wants to break down, and how that can coincide with in many ways, for money to start going into TLT, safety, guaranteed return on dollars. To add to that narrative, most of the market is convinced and has more reason to believe that rates will be getting cut sometime soon. Within the next 3 months, we'll probably see a cut. I think everyone's kind of on board with that, but oddly, we've been talking about this for a long time now. The Fed's gonna cut, and they haven't done it yet. So, but I mean, I think it's coming. I think all the indications are there. Unemployment going up. All the other currencies, all the other central banks are cutting. They're seeing the slowdown. But we'll see. The S&P 500 largely has been very bullish, largely because of really the semiconductors. And this ETF represents the semiconductors, SMH. I mentioned on last Friday that this no longer looks like it can continue being bullish. That turned out to be correct. In fact, it's with this amount of bearishness this quickly, it's sending momentum downwards, and I do for now expect this to turn over going down. I don't think this is a viable dip here, but then again, I don't control what other people will do with their money. With that said, like, if we were back here and I was seeing this collapsing, I would not be very bullish on semiconductors, considering that they were even overvalued, in my opinion, all the way back here, and instead of continuing lower, we just ripped higher and higher and higher. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Overall, kind of boring markets, especially boring in the summer. Summers tend to be extra boring until, we get into the fall. September, October is when things tend to stir up and things become more interesting. But hey, we could see some big things happening here. Only time will tell in my crystal ball. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Robschild.